So maybe you've been dating an avoidant for a little while now, and you're starting to wonder, is this the right relationship for me? Can I continue on like this with the intermittent reinforcement at times, or the feeling so much anxiety in my body when I think about what's happening and are they going to come through or are they going to cancel plans? Well, in today's video, if this is something that you're experiencing, we're going to talk about how long you should actually date an avoidant. Because honestly, relationships shouldn't feel like a never ending guessing game. So, how long should you wait before it's time to decide whether or not you should walk away? In today's video, we're going to talk about exactly that. I'm going to give you a really good strategy, a clear roadmap of what to do so that you can stop having to feel panicked or anxiety. And hopefully, this is really helpful for you, even if you're not in the situation now, to know to prevent yourself from being in the situation in the future. So, first and foremost, I am a big believer in two things. Number one, because of neuroplasticity, we know that true and real change is completely possible. But number two, in order for that to take place, one has to be willing to do the actual work. And back in the day when I used to run my client practice for a very long time and see tons and tons and tons of clients, I will tell you on the first day that a couple would come into my office to see me, I didn't care how much trauma they had. I didn't care what their attachment style was. I didn't care like how chaotic the relationship currently was. Those honestly weren't significant factors for me. I would look for one thing on the first day, and it was, are both people here willing to do the work? Now, the work doesn't always look the same for each person. Sometimes I would see, for example, an anxious and an avoidant attachment style. And maybe the anxious attachment style would sit down and read books or do worksheets or really apply the things that she was learning or he was learning in counseling, in our work and coaching. And other times I would see the dismissive avoidant not really doing those same things. But what they would do really effectively is just apply the tools. Practice communicating differently, practice being more vulnerable. Sure, maybe it wasn't through a worksheet or through reading books or taking courses, but if those crucial behaviors were implemented, the whole relationship could transform. And I would see really, really beautiful things. And to be honest, I know that avoidant attachment styles sometimes get a hard time on the internet. But honestly, I saw countless, literally countless avoidants transform into having many more secure behaviors, being more vulnerable, communicating more openly, seeing their needs through, making healthier compromises in relationships, being able to express emotion more and really invest and commit. Like I saw this thousands of times over the years. And so, you know, sure, we may have an avoidant who's less likely to do the work, but a big number of avoidants really are. And so I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Now, let me tell you how we can apply this understanding, okay? Because what happens if you're like, okay, great, I'm going to go do this now. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to communicate differently. I'm going to encourage these behaviors. It doesn't mean that that's a necessary shoe in for the person you're in a relationship dynamic with. So, what we're actually looking for here is number one, before you even try to do the work and you're wondering how long you should date an avoidant, I need you, step one, I'm going to give you three big steps. Step one, to sit down and to make a list of all of your standards in a relationship and all of your non negotiables. Okay. And once you've made that list, still in step one, I want you to evaluate it. I want you to ask yourself, am I in a relationship where there's already non negotiables? And an example of a non negotiable would be something like one person wants kids and the other person doesn't. And like, if you were to decide to still be with that person and, give up on having kids, in that example, you would be betraying your true self in order to be with that person. Okay. So that's a non-negotiable. Standards are like the nice to haves, those big nice to haves, the things that are important to you. Okay. Like maybe a standard could be that you want somebody to also love to travel as much as you do. That's really important to you. That's meaningful to you. But is it a non-negotiable? Is it a deal breaker? No. So you need to sit down and write out those things. And then you need to actually evaluate, like, is this person showing up for these things? Maybe you look and you're like, whoa, there's all these non-negotiables. And maybe that gives you a really clear answer that you're just with the wrong person right now. There's a compatibility issue, even if the person worked on their attachment style. Or maybe you see, you know what? There's a whole bunch of things here that are really great. So let me invest for a little bit into this relationship and see what happens. This brings me to step two. If you're deciding to continue investing, despite feeling like things are rocky, you need to set a deadline. I truly think one of the worst and hardest things is when people end up just investing in this open ended way, hoping somebody else will change. And suddenly, like 2 years have passed and they've just, I used to see people truly that would come into my office all the time and be like, I've been waiting for this person to change and it's been 3 years. So now I'm seeking out, working with you. And I'd be like, 3 years you've been trying and there's been no needle moving? Like, why would you do that to yourself? Because that's a form of self betrayal. So you need to set a deadline. How much longer will I truly pour into this relationship and invest? And how much do I need to see the needle move and on what? Okay. So you need to start looking at like what would have to be different for me to feel like there's progress. We are connecting more, the relationship is improving. What are those things? And set that deadline for how long you're going to wait it out. This brings me to step three, which is you have to go have the conversation and proceed to vet. Okay. So once you're like, hey, this is how long I'm going to try to see this through for, maybe you're like, you know what, I've been doing this for 4 years. Things have been rocky for the last year. I'm going to invest 4 or 6 more months. And I'm going to like really pour in for maybe 4 months. Again, that's up to you to decide because it's going to be different for different people. Somebody who has 3 kids and a mortgage and can't afford to live on their own and you don't want to co-parent just yet, like you may invest a year after 4 or 5 years, right? Or after 10 years. But if you've been dating somebody for 6 months, you may invest 1 month, right? So that deadline or that timeline that you're going to invest, that has to be a very conscious decision.
So I just wanted to stop by here and let you know a really exciting announcement, and is that we are doing $1,000 off of our lifetime memberships to the Personal Development School for Life. So I will tell you what's actually included in there. Number one, you get access to all of our different 60 plus courses. Everything about every single attachment style, how to reprogram, how to heal. We have courses in there about the 6 stages of relationships and how to navigate each stage. We have courses in there about how to get back together or heal relationships between different attachment styles and all of the steps for reconnecting. And we have all sorts of other courses on boundaries, conflict communication, setting and achieving goals at the subconscious level, seeing how attachment styles even show up in your workplace and how to navigate some of those different dynamics and heal those aspects of your attachment style. There's so many courses in there. But number two feature that we have, daily social support groups. So these are small groups that are all included in the lifetime membership. And we do daily events, sometimes even twice a day, where there will be, 10 people or so led by a trained counselor, coach, or facilitator. And you can actually join in there and practice some of the different tools with other members. It's a great place to build relationships, connect with like-minded people, and to really fast track your learning and have that extra support all the time. And number three, we have daily webinars Monday through Saturday. I do 3 of those webinars every single week. That's the time to come in, ask me your questions. You can come in on camera and we can chat. You can come in off camera and just post them in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable doing. And we have other amazing counselors, coaches, facilitators who also lead other webinars. And again, those are slightly larger groups of people, but it's a great opportunity to connect with like-minded learners who also care about the same things: emotional connection, relationships, and personal growth. So I hope you check it out. We also have all these different discussion forums in there. We have a Facebook group so you can connect with each other there as well. And there's a tremendous amount of community support in an ongoing way at PDS. So I would love to see you on the other side. I hope you join me. And now we'll go back to the video.
The good part about this step two, before I tell you more about step three, is that when you set this deadline here, what ends up taking place is that within this deadline period of time, if it doesn't work, you've done all this work, you've grown, you've expanded yourself, you've tried new things, you've learned new tools, you've improved your emotional literacy and your relationship capacity to really show up in a great way. And then by the time that you're at the end of the deadline, you truly know with so much certainty and closure, this isn't the right relationship for you. So it makes it much easier to walk away totally guilt free, regret free, and with a sense of certainty and closure. And it'll make the breaking up way easier. But if you don't do that and you just, go all or nothing, sometimes we can end up with a whole bunch of what ifs. So I really advise that deadline process there. And step 3, how we have the conversation here, and I will say if you wanna do a deeper dive into, like, how to have this conversation in a really great way, and I'll tell you more about this in just a second, but you can check out, fully for free for a limited time, our course all about how to repair any relationship. And it really talks about not just how to, like, repair, but how to decide if it's worth repairing. So I'll put a link to that down below fully for free just for a limited time if you do wanna do a deeper dive into that. But how you would have this conversation at a high level is you would pick those 3 big things that aren't working, and you don't just say, "Hey, these things aren't working." You go in because this is how we have more productive and more positive conversations with people. You go in and you say, "Hey, these are 3 things I want us to work on in the relationship. Here's my part of it and what I think I can improve. I would love to hear what you think your part may be and how you can improve, and I want us to commit to these 1 or 2 solutions per thing." And we're going to come up with those solutions together. Or you can even go in already equipped with the solutions and the ideas that you have for those big challenges and problems, and then just leave room for the other person to also discuss what they think their solutions would be. And by doing this, it's a new way of communicating. You're positively framing, hey, here's some challenges. Here's why I want us to work through them. We can do this together. You're using that sense of we're going to work on this together, which creates this cohesion in your language. And it is so much more productive to have a conversation with somebody and say, here's the things that we can do differently to break through these glass barriers, instead of just saying, hey, here's our problems and these are frustrating, right? When you go in and somebody just dumps their problems, it's easier to get defensive. But if somebody goes in and says, hey, here's some challenges we're facing, I know we can work through these things together, here's my part, I would love to hear what you think your part is, and here's some solutions I already suggest. It's just that brings this conversation around cohesion, around teamwork, and it's going to make for a more productive move forward. And then what you do is you monitor, you vet during that deadline. Is it working? Is the person participating? Are they willing to do the work with you? And if the answer is yes, you're going to see beautiful things. And if the answer is no, you're going to clearly know it's time to walk away, and it's not going to be so hard or scary to do so. So ask me your questions. Let me know in the comments down below what other questions you have. If this is this something you're going through right now? Are you experiencing a hard time in your relationship? I would love to hear, and let me know what you need from me. If there's something specific you want me to ask or cover topics on, please feel free to share with me, and I'll come back and read through and create more content on these topics below, because I know it can be hard, to be in a relationship and to not know, at those pivotal moments, is this the right person or not? So I'm here to support you. Let me know what you need. And if you're enjoying this content, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you here. It would mean a lot to me. And thank you for being here in the first place. Thank you for watching today. And I look forward to seeing you in other content and future videos.